Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have a quant video in front of us today, QNT on the exchange. Before we go into this one, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you have not done so already, and check out the other videos on the channel. Loads of different topics and discussions as always on there. We've got a few really cool people crypto videos coming in the next couple of days from a little voting system we did on the community side of the channel the other day. Lots of CPH fans out there, I think, amongst a few others that we want to cover as well. Some of these will be ones that we hold and some purely are not. We're just here to do a big deep dive and research for you guys out there as well. So as always, do let us know in the comments below or anywhere in the community sections if there's any projects you want us to cover. We can't always cover every single one of them, but for sure when I do my research throughout them all, I tend to try and categorize them in ways that they'd be of interest to people for sure. So do keep those coming in, really appreciate that. Let's go into this topic, guys, because this is quite a big thing here. So the 1st of March, literally yesterday, Quant announced the support for the Avalanche network. Now, this is quite interesting. I think it's actually, to be fair, a few days older than this article. I will go into that in a second. But one thing that I like to pick out with this is we did a video back in 2021 about predominantly around cbdc's, to be honest, but particularly with the announcement back then of the UK's innovation hub in London, which was to really heavily focus on blockchain technology and Web3 formatting and ecosystems throughout the UK as a kind of like a business integration, really, of how that can happen. And off the back of that, we started having conversations being spewed out, really, about the digital pound. And if you remember when we first picked up on the Digital Pound Foundation, one of the heavy organizations here in the UK that are trying to kind of like guide really and help with information and advice around regulation, legislation, etc. in general, looking at the whole concept overall, we pinpointed that along with Avalanche, the likes of Ripple, etc., are heavily integrated or in the advisory perspective of this digital pound. And I'm sure this is similar as well in other countries, but particularly here in the UK, where Quant is very prominent, there's other projects here across the world coming in for these kind of conversations and ecosystem development. So that's what really kind of pinpointed in my head that we were kind of on the right path collectively with us here on the channel, but of course you guys out there as well picked up on this too, that eventually all of these companies and projects will come together in some formation, right? And Quant has a really powerful tool, an API system, to be able to really and truly integrate from an interoperable perspective. And this word interoperability is extremely important as we look through the developments of blockchain moving forwards. I think we've mentioned many times on this channel that you got so many different chains out there, so many different networks, but ultimately there isn't really the possibility of having just one winner. Of course, there could be always a layer zero or a beginning foundation of these, but in the grand principle of things, when these like branch out, it becomes quite significantly even more important than ever to have that interoperable perspective. What we mean by that is the ability for all these chains to be able to talk to each other. So depending on the technological requirement, there is a possible necessity or a big necessity for this kind of integration, and the importance of interoperability becomes very much more prominent as time goes by. So in this instance, the ability for Quant here, I'll just read this particular part out for you guys. This bit in particular, adding to our supported blockchains will enable our customers to issue, manage and interact with assets on Avalanche and its ESG friendly innovation consensus protocol. This is very much around kind of sustainability, to be honest, governance around the environments, etc. But the point being with this is that anyone utilizing the quant systems or the overledger or indeed the API systems will have the advantage of being able to utilize specific areas of these various chains. And it's quite interesting here, actually, if we scroll down slightly further, you can see here now about this chain agnostics. Okay, so look at all these different partnerships and project integrations we've already got here. Polygon being some of them, XRPs, Ripple, of course, Zinfin. We've got Avalanche, of course, we just mentioned recently. You've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that's just to name a few of them. Really pulling them together, guys. And I'm interested as well the fact that Hyperledger Fabric's on here. Hyperledger Fabric is a IBM orientated blockchain, something I don't believe you can invest in at all or have tokens of or anything like this. It's very enterprise driven and owned as well. But look at this all building, guys. This is where it's starting to get really exciting. One of the favorite things about Avalanche that I always picked out over the years is the abilities for the smart contract application. Now there's a lot of other projects out there that cover this principle, especially people like Cardano, for example. But for me, as I mentioned, with this integration and kind of like leveled partnership that we've seen over the last few years, to be honest, with the likes of Digital Pound Foundation and many other initiatives going on around the world and here in the UK, is that all of these are starting to really piece together, taking the best parts of these chains, bringing them all nicely through an interoperable system such as Quant. And this is why I picked out Quant some time ago, purely for its magnitude in the financial industry in general, but its ability to be able to pull all this together. And this is something that is definitely required as time goes by, as we already mentioned a few times. So here again is just a bit of a reiteration around the Overledger. This is the most up-to-date release document here. I think this is only a few days back, actually, to be honest, just before the official announcement, if you like. But again, talking here about chain agnostic tokens and smart contracts being utilized through Quant, utilizing these chains. And I think this is a really big stepping stone as this keeps branching out and increasing with magnitude as time goes by. It's getting me more and more excited about Quant as a project, as a technology, and the team are doing a fantastic job in the background of this future development. And this was just to pick out really what we mentioned earlier. As I said, we covered this in the video ages and ages ago, but Ripple, Avalanche joined independent group to support the development of the digital UK pound. So yeah, Digital Pound Foundation integration or advisory boards. And this is obviously something majorly that Quant are heavily involved in as well. In fact, a lot of these guys got together at the World Economic Forum. You talk about the ESG part of Avalanche. We've of course got to remind ourselves in the back of our minds the UN's protocol for 2030 through the sustainability program of Agenda 30. This is all very dependent, especially from the blockchain side of things, of how sustainable this can all be, how fast it can be, and efficiency as well. So loads of really interesting things coming out this year so far, to be honest. We had obviously the information around the Bank of England initiating a proof of concept to devise a digital wallet here in the UK to take on the digital pound over these coming years. And I think that runs out in June for the trial and the piloting periods. Maybe at that point we might know who's behind or who wins that race to become the digital wallet producer and creator. I mean, can you imagine when they announce or we get an inkling of who's operating this and what project that might be? But at the end of the day, as we've mentioned already, you need projects like Quant to really enhance and bring all of this kind of thing together, make it all work, make it all communicate to each other. Hence why they've got that API protocol application in the background with the Overledger system to be able to operate this on a significant scale, which you definitely need for something essentially an RTGS system where we're talking about the world's finance runs through 700 odd billion pounds worth a day goes through this system. So it has to be on par and it has to work simultaneously with all these different chains through these various different countries, regions, etc., using their own systems, using their own frameworks. But with the power of blockchain, the ability of blockchain, being able to process and verify these a lot quicker than ever before. It's really exciting, guys. So let's keep an eye on this, because this is a really big point of conversation and a massive integration, to be honest, in my opinion. Let us know what you think about this in the comments below. But as I said, it makes me even more excited about Quant. Absolutely phenomenal update there from those guys. So that out of the way, guys, let's look at the chart quickly of the Quant price point here. So at the moment, we're looking at the price of around $126. Okay, so we've had this high point back here on the 26th of January, the back end of January, going up to $160. It seems like yesterday, but it was quite some time ago now. June last year, when we saw the $44 of Quant, I was trying to get as much as I could in those kind of areas, and I was DCAing even around these particular areas of 88 or so, 87 in particular, of which I still have some buy orders available, limit orders on the exchange, hoping to try and get some of those if it ever comes back to those areas. We'll have to see over the coming months. But first of all, to say, which is a good thing for me anyway, we've hit 2 buy orders on the way down. On 2 periods actually, on this particular level of the fib retracement, which was around 124 on 2 occasions. Well, I think I had mine around about 126, not too far off where it is now, but slightly lower than this. But again, as I said, it's been picking up on those points quite nicely. So we still have that lower 120 area, and I will still have my buy orders back here at the round about the 114, and as I said, around this 87 mark as well. That's not to suggest that they're definitively coming down to these areas, but certainly in the last couple of weeks we are seeing that bit of a downward trend, and this would, in my opinion, indicate that we're going to be testing, as we are the last few days, this 125 area. This will really dictate perhaps some sideways movement to then determine, can we support this area? If so, yes, we'll probably be testing these other regions again around the 130, 135 mark. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at some strategic points on this way down. For example, the lower regions of, the higher regions towards the 118 mark, and those, as this fib retracement level indicates, probably around the 110, but this is probably a good area of interest around that 112, 113 mark. So that's kind of like the positions I've been looking at and have had orders in for some time, and I've been waiting patiently to see if they come in or not. But that aside, for the instance of right now, the 14 days showing 39 on the RSI here. Just, by the way, guys, referring to down here, this is the placement of a 14-week model, as well as the 90 and the 28 day, and this gives a good reflection really over a period of time. If you're a short-term trader, perhaps operating on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, someone that looks at the things monthly, or even indeed over a 3-month period, it gives a good variation. Some people have like RSI 6, some RSI 12. It's entirely up to you, but these are good indicators for me, and particularly on the 14 days, something where I go, okay, this is a good opportunity for some DCA opportunity. So again, not saying that I'm going to throw all my money in here, but it's just an opportunity that's arisen. It's leveling off a bit. It's becoming a bit of a secure aspect of this right now for me to be able to put a tiny bit of capital into the DCA, which I have done over the last couple of days with the automatic orders that came in. On the 28 day though, it's still slightly higher at 45. We would like to see that coming down to around the sort of 43, 42 mark to put in a bit extra, and that's probably where you might see it dipping down below that 120 area and bringing that 14-day RSI maybe around to sort of around 35, 36. So we'll have to see if that plays out, but at the moment, as I said, it's a good area to dip into. Not financial advice, is just opinion based on what I'm doing personally, which has been working for some time now, but as I said, options are always open for even lower regions. But also, if it goes up, I'm not too disappointed, because I have been DCAing in Quant for in various different stages, and in reality, guys, in the long term, honestly, in the next few years, I can see this being a $5,000, $10,000 token price, just purely because of its full integrations, what it's working on, what it's working with. We're going to see some really exciting times in the financial industry over the next few years. So it sounds a bit silly, really, because to the outside of this price point of around 126 sounds quite expensive when you're looking at like, you know, 1 cent tokens or 10 cents or dollars or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that it's all about gains, right? Percentage gains, percentage opportunities, return on investment. And, you know, when you're talking about 126 to 5,000 or 10,000, it almost becomes half irrelevant. But it's just one of those things, guys. You have to play risk management really well, and that's why I do DCA into a lot of these bigger projects. I think it's very important to understand, first of all, the research element of it, but understanding like what's the capabilities of this in the future. I'm a long-term holder of Quant. I'm not selling Quant. I have no interest in doing that until we see some really high significant numbers in those areas that we've just been talking about. I truly believe in the future of this project, the technology, who's behind it, and as I said earlier and many times, you know, these partnerships, these integrations are not just for fun. There's a specific reason for this, and the financial world is going to change massively, especially in 2025 and onwards. As we reported many times, you know, November 2025, the switch on of the new RTGS system, the ISO 20022 compliance is kicking in over the next few years. Already started, of course, and that goal mechanism towards 2030, a new financial world, a new financial industry. Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum always said we are in the 4th industrial revolution. How exciting is that, guys, to be so early in this still? But to wrap this video up, guys, performance indicators on the right side, it's not doing too well on the week or the 1 month indicators. Now, it's not too bad either, to be honest. I know it shows red, but it's still in amongst that area of being fairly stable. What's interesting to me is the year to date, and the 6 months are still relatively strong. But I am seeing across the market now, and especially if you pull the charts out a bit more, you do start to see a lot more information in terms of like, actually we've had a good spike up over that month or month and a half, but now we're starting to trickle down. And that's why I said it's really important to identify these potential areas of support, or even indeed areas of resistance that are historically there. If you remember, we drew these in ages ago, these big bar areas, and these were indicators basically based on some of the previous high points. If you look back here, just get really silly adverts, the August 2022, and again you can see the trigger points all the way along where the failures and the support mechanism is, and exactly pretty much where we are today. So this is why I'm saying the next few days, the next week or so, could be really important to see if we can stabilize here and move up, or it may just come down and test these lower regions. And you know, that is quite significant savings in some instances, you know, $10, $20 here and there, maybe even more, who knows. It does become more lucrative as you try and accumulate more quant in your portfolios. So guys, I'm going to wrap that up there. Going to be getting back on these videos more often now. I've got my voice back properly and everything like that. For those that didn't know, I did a talk. I was on a panel at Fireblocks the other day. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you to those guys for the invitation. Being able to speak to loads of new people in the space and loads of existing ones, you know, absolutely brilliant. And the other people on the panel were absolutely insanely passionate and exciting as well. So we'll be doing a bit of a review of that tomorrow as well. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching this one. We'll see you in the next quant update video. Take care. Bye bye.